Okay, hello everyone, and welcome on ArchiDiaries for the third interview in our ongoing live interview series that has been titled as Interior Design and Innovation. In the second interview, which happened last Tuesday, we had a chance to talk to Ms. Shivangi Shah from Hive Home. It's a light design studio, and we had an opportunity to see what a good lighting design can do, what kind of qualities that can add to an interior or an architectural space. And there are many kinds of more such categories of installations, so such as kinetic art, bespoke art, functional art. And all these installations also have a potential to add qualities to an existing space, be it an interior space, architectural space, or even a landscape or an outdoor space. And I'm glad to share that to talk about these possibilities, we have today with us architect Darshan Soni from Apical Reform. Darshan, welcome on ArchiDiaries and thank you for accepting the invite.
Good.
So I'll just briefly introduce Darshan here and also the kind of things that Apical Reform they do, kind of projects that they do. So Apical Reform co-founder Darshan Soni is an architect, an award-winning photographer and artist with a keen interest in pedagogy of design. An alumnus of the CEPT University, Ahmedabad, India, where he also serves as a visiting faculty, Sony's parametric approach to design is rooted in his curiosity of naturally occurring multiplicity and mechanics and his quest to transform the abstract into the tangible. A strong advocate for sustainability, Sony's storied design journey and ability to engage with audiences, spaces, and materials on the same frequency has helped shape the ethos that Apical Reform represents. Darshan, this sounds for a really good and interesting presentation. Over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Ayaz, for ArchiDiaries for inviting me. I'll straight away take you to the presentation. I'll share the screen. Can you guys see?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is our practice, the what kind of niche that we have figured out within our interest. So it's not typical design studio where there is only architecture or interior designing is practiced. We have a fusion of a lot of things. Over a couple of years, we practiced a lot of design fields, and eventually we figured out our niche where we want to focus our practice on. So it's basically somewhere between design and art. So the entire presentation is going to talk about that. So it's the title is At the Threshold of Design and Art: Journey of Our Design Process. So I'll introduce Amrish. He is the co-founder of Apical Reform. He is a creative director. Myself, I'm an architect, co-founder. So basically, we started in 2011, where both of us we started experimenting and understanding the design practice, what the current kind of demand is and what kind of work that really engages us in terms of not really doing the routine kind of work that is practiced, but finding our own niche. So that's when the journey started. After a couple of years, we figured out where we want to focus. So I'll tell you about what we do in detail later. So this is our studio. I'll also talk about the architecture and the other design aspects of the studio toward the end of the presentation. That's where we sit. That's where we work. So our core focus is kinetic art, bespoke art, and functional art. So kinetic art basically involves a lot of mechanics. The bespoke art is more about large installations and something which is specifically made for certain clients. And functional art would be an artistic object with a function to it. So in totality, if I narrow it down in terms of our design process, it may not be linear. It may, in some cases, it would be linear, but this is an abstract where we are always looking for the inspiration, that spark, and that around that spark we are not really bothered about how that thing is to be made or something. It's more about the experience. What is the experience that we really want to create eventually, of whatever work that we are doing, the architecture, interior, or even the other art I spoke about. And then we work with a lot of other mediums where we are talking about the translation of that idea into something, and how we can create that into an experience. Then we have different tools and method and innovation to kind of bring that into life. Then once we have all these things in place, our core value as a company is the quality and the precision that we work with. And after everything is created and presented in a certain manner, that entire experience should be impressive. So this is a broad category or stages that you could say that we work in our design process. Now I'll talk about the kinetic art. So kinetic art works are more complex, and they are in synergy between art, design, mathematics, physics, mechanics, computation, coding, electronics. All these things would come in a nice balance, in equilibrium, to kind of generate that experience. So I'll just take one example to take you through how we do that. Is a stingray. It's a kinetic artwork. So Amrish and myself, we were traveling, and we were in Dubai Aquarium. We saw the stingray from very close. We never had chance to have a look at it so close. So that experience was extraordinary. We could see how it is actually flying in water. We could see its structure, its tail, the texture, everything. So we were really mesmerized by the majestic experience or aesthetic of the stingray. That's where we decided, let's create something which kind of gives us similar experience. So this is a final product where we are not literally converting a stingray form into a stingray kinetic artwork. It's more about celebrating the movement that it has, elongating that entire form in certain way that you only see the movement and you don't see anything else. Even the tail and everything is subdued. So you just focus on what makes you feel great about the movement. So we have, these are limited edition pieces. This one is 6 feet long. There is a little smaller one that is 4 feet long. And in terms of finish, we get rose gold, gold, chrome. So there are these three finishes that you get. So when we started, once we had this spark that we want to create something like that, then there is entire study and exploration that goes under. We really studied what kind of stingrays are there. There are n number of rays family, and what kind of movements there are. Then we started converting that into some mathematical and mechanical conversions, along with the details and forms. Then we created more than 50 models to kind of understand the mechanism, how we want to do it. Also, when you're doing this kind of mechanical art pieces, you want to really reduce the number of parts to reduce the number of failures and frictions, and there are a lot of other aspects attached to it. So it really took long to make all these models and study them. So the study model was the rigorous part. Then we work with Rhino and Grasshopper, where we kind of do this parametric design, where we could actually work with the parameters that we have defined and create an experience which is kind of conceived. So we can change the length and the distance and the various aspects of mechanism, and that would give us the result in terms of animation, how it is moving and what is the movement, height, etc. So this is the tool where we kind of fine tune our artwork. So that's an abstract representation of how we go about it. So I'll take you through a couple of examples of kinetic artwork. This is Tornado. It's a very small little piece to put it on the desk or on a shelf. So in this one, we have explored stainless steel as a material, and there are 40 pieces which are put together in certain manner. So all the work goes into achieving this quality and precision is really tedious. You have to work with people who can actually understand the value of these things. And unfortunately, in India, we don't really have a lot of people who are really bothered about quality. There are people, but they are difficult to find. So we train people where we really get the desired results. There is another artwork which we'll be launching that is called Dream and Reality. So in this artwork, we are talking about that little threshold. It says a little time when you wake up, you cannot realize that whether it is a dream or reality. It's 1 or 2 seconds, that's where you figure out. So that experience we wanted to recreate. So we have this image where you can actually see a photograph of a forest. The phenomena is called crown shyness, where the trees foliage, they don't meet each other. There is certain gap. They live by their own. So it's that phenomena. So we have taken this image and then we have broken up that into certain grids, and within that grid, certain pieces are going to move. So when you actually look at one go, as right now you can see the full picture, in another certain time, you will see that in a different way. Your brain will do a trick and you cannot realize what it is, but at the back of your mind, you know what it is. So it's kind of that dilemma, and then it comes back to the original position. So, yeah. So if you see, there are pieces in between. You see this branch, which is kind of rotating on its own place. The patches of leaves and branches would rotate on its own place, and that would create that dilemma. So then we experimented that with various kind of geometries. So there is on the extreme right, there is a aerial shot of a bridge and a forest. You can see on the upper row the actual picture, and at the bottom it is one of the stage where the image gets kind of reoriented. In the second picture, the star trails, they get broken up, and in the first picture, it's just a aerial view of a cityscape. So a lot of images, they kind of react differently with this method. So then I'm going to talk about functional art. Functional art is basically an artistic object with a function assigned to it. The beauty part of this is it gives you nice wide range to explore the creativity. They look beautiful and they are useful. That's why people they really love having these kind of pieces in their places. So on the extreme left, there is a wall artwork. It also can work as a ambient light. It's called Terra. In the center, the lamp is made out of aluminium. It's called Scar. On the right side, you see the chair. It's called Betula chair. Then we, as interior spaces, we explore various elements. Like one functional art is dealing with the furniture, storage, etc. There is element of staircase. There's a transition space that we explore, and we really have fun with it. So we have done various kind of staircases, which becomes more than a staircase. So this one was done in 1102 penthouse. Entire staircase is made out of metal. So in this one also, if you see on the right side, you see those cutouts in the riser. So those are metal cutouts, and they transform into the ceiling and they become light. So everything starts binding with each other. So this was done in 2012. It's entirely made out of 6 mm stainless steel, mild steel. Also, if you see on the right side, there is someone climbing up. Below that, you see those lights. So also within the structure, we have accommodated and articulated the form by throwing the light into the bottom of the tread. This staircase is in our studio. Again, it's made out of metal. This is our ongoing project. We are doing a villa. That's why we are doing the staircase. It's made out of RCC. The width of the staircase is around 6 meters. So when we are designing the staircase, especially let's say in this case, the staircase can become a place to sit, to have a group photo, or put some small sculpture, and use this entire space as a space rather than just an element which is providing you circulation going up and down. Then we also explored the element of door. So this door was done in 1102 penthouse. So the material that we explored here was 3 mm tiles, very thin tiles that you get. So what we had done was we had articulated the entire space, all the planes with these tiles, thin tiles. On the left, you see a lift door. So once you come out of this is an apartment. So when you come out, you see this entire space cladded with this mid-gray tiles. And there's very simple geometry. Also, you would see those lines, they are aluminum 8 mm bars inlaid to form these very mild geometry. The lighting that you see, that is another element which also travels on these two planes, and it becomes the mat on the floor, it becomes the handle on the door, and it becomes the ceiling. So everything is kind of talking to each other. On the right, you can see how the door is open. So now then there was another issue, how to provide light, electricity to the door, because the door is going to open in and out. Then we had taken current through the pivot. So there are no wires seen, and there is no breakage or maintenance of the wire, and that has been working fantastic. This is another door we have done in Rajkot Villa. There is Villa 1 Rajkot. So we just did the door. It's a freestanding frame on a large facade of the house. It's a very contemporary cuboidal house. So this in the center there is 6 feet wide door. On the both sides there are fixed panels. We had used the 25 mm thick birch ply, and this entire fluidic form, when the door is closed, you just see this piece as an artwork, and the handle is also incorporated within the form. So I'm going to talk about Bethula. Bethula we have launched, I think, in 2017 or so. We have received tremendous response from all over the world through social media and everything. So we have 3 versions up till now. This is the clear version. Then we have a moss green version and the living coral, that was color of the year 2019, I think. Then we have a storage. This is a credenza. That's where we explored the form that Earth has, the valleys and mountains, that organic form through erosion and landslide and everything, that we decided to kind of bring that kind of earthy feel to the articulation. The overall credenza is pretty simple. It just has this little carved out relief on the credenza. Art Bespoke. So Art Bespoke, when these projects are really special, you get opportunity to work with the customization, work with the unique concepts, and in a lot of times there are challenging scales when we are talking about large installations. So this is called Sonux Lexica. This we had done kind of portraying the success of Dubai. So I'll take you through the process, what we did for this one. This is around more than 250 kg artwork. It is suspended through 3 cables that you see. This is how it looks from the bottom. So basically, we had taken the metaphor of iceberg, and we were actually talking about Dubai as a successful city. And through a lot of brainstorming, we figured out there are these 3 words that kind of represents Dubai in a most closest way: peace, growth, and harmony. There are multicultural people living there, working and earning for themselves. So we floated online campaign through Instagram, and we asked people to speak these 3 words in their own language. So we took those recordings. We worked with the sound wave that you see on top. We elaborated the sound wave, and we created the third dimension view of the sound. So there is actual representation of sound that has been spoken, and we took that further and sliced up and made these wooden discs. So at the bottom you see those are the sound waves. On the top, in the same language of sound wave, we have created the skyscrapers and water and desert around it. At the bottom there is voice of people. These are the people who are working in Dubai and making the successful Dubai. And at the bottom, we had also kept a 4 feet dia tray where we filled up the actual desert sand to symbolize the origin of the city. And this art installation was really popular. The king himself came to visit. This is another art installation in Dubai Design District. It's called D3. So the artwork, we were actually working with calligraphy, Arabic calligraphy, and we were working with 3-dimensional form. And within that, we kind of realized something, and we started exploring that same thing into the English alphabets, and we created these forms. We are very fluidic, dynamic forms, which can be used the way user wants to use it. You can lean on it, you can sit on it. And for kids, it's also fun. They can climb on it. This has been a really successful project. You can see the material and the finish there. This another art installation is called Melt. We had done a show in our gallery in Dubai where it was called State of Earth. This art installation is talking about the climate change, the climate change that we are going through. So we've again taken the iceberg, we have split that in half. On the left hand side, you see that aesthetic, those are all machine aesthetics made with metal. And if you see within the layers, there are stories that you can see mining and industrial revolution. So it is symbolizing that we have done this to nature in some ways. Even if it has beautiful aesthetic, there is certain limit that we need to stop. On the right side, it's more pure representation of the iceberg, and then symbolizing that we are almost halfway through, and kind of we need to look into our evolution now. These crystals they were provided by Swarovski crystals. They are like big crystals, and there are 800 of them suspended there. Now I'm going to talk about special projects. I call these as special projects because we take up only a couple of projects per year to their architecture or facade projects or interior design projects. So we don't do a lot of projects in quantity. We do a couple of them per year. So I'm just going to take you through 1 or 2 of them. This is the 1102 penthouse that we had done. So in this house, we had done complete interior designing with artwork and everything. So you see the ceiling that was kind of giving a sense of daylight when you have the curtains down and everything. The ceiling is all again parametric ceiling. There are a lot of beams, so we kind of created and carved out the ceiling to kind of provide more height and more aesthetic there. This is the kitchen, and that's where we again explored that 3mm tiles onto the door shutters, because kitchen is a place where It needs to be maintainable. You need to clean them up. A lot of time the paint also starts getting the dark spots and everything. So we explored this material. It really worked well. It gives you a nice, soothing aesthetic, and you don't really have to maintain it that. This is a facade and site development project that we had done. It's business park. So we created this parametric facade with aluminum fins. There was possibility of doing some kind of image, but it wasn't relevant. We just stuck with the very simple formation. This is the ceiling of the same building. Actually, when the architect had designed this foyer, the shops were only going to on the ground floor and first floor. So the lifts were only serving from ground floor to the other floors, and the lift wasn't stopping at second floor. So there was a slab which was not needed here. So the width of the foyer was around 10 feet. So we decided to break down the slab and provide this vertical volume, and we treated the left and right walls with mirror. So this is looking towards outside from the foyer. And the ceiling was also done with aluminum boxes. So when you see it this way, you actually expand this entire, there's the sense of enclosure kind of goes away towards the top. It expands infinitely, and you can see larger sky there. This is a recent project. It's an apartment, luxury apartment. So as per the interior design, the layout, that the toilet was there and you could see the door. So we decided to provide an envelope which kind of creates an artistic wall, and same time it kind of creates a little niche to enter to the toilet. This is made out of metal. That's our studio. So in this one, we have used a material called magnesium oxide board. It is similar to cement sheet, but has a better fracture strength. The facade is actually relating to the light. So this building is facing the east side. So the fins are oriented that way. When you go on to the right side, it is facing the north. That's where the all working cubicles are there. And when it is again going towards other direction where you do not want so much of direct sun, the fins kind of rotates at an angle. So these are the rotated fins. So it will kind of block certain amount of sunlight, and it really creates interesting shadows inside. So yeah, this is a workshop. So that's where we work, a lot of hands-on modeling, study models, everything that we do by hand. I would say making is learning. That's a basic principle that all of us we work with. A lot of study models and experimentation that goes on. We also have infrastructure where we have laser cutter, 3D printer to explore technological aspects of it. Then at last, I want to share one little exercise that we do whenever we are working for any project. So any form that we work with, we kind of explore that form in different scales. So by changing scale, we try and understand it better, what that form offers in terms of what it offers in terms of the usage, or in terms of experience. So it's just an exercise for ourselves. It kind of keeps our mind going. So the form this could be just an earring or a pendant or something. The same form could become a pavilion with some greenery in it. And same thing we explored as a marine museum, where it is kind of showing that fluidity of water, and you can actually travel under the water and walk. The hypothetical exercises. That is the presentation. In this entire presentation, what I've tried to cover is when we are talking about innovation in interior design, our practice is such that it does explore that in different bits and pieces. In I would say elements of interior designing, staircases, doors, furniture, and a lot of times the artworks. So that is the exploration goes on the specific element, and within that element, then there are innovations in technique, technology, material exploration. So it's those kind of parameters that we work with. So yeah, that's my presentation. I can take any questions.
Thank you, Darshan. Can you please stop sharing your screen so that we can start the discussion? Thank you so much, Darshan. It was wonderful to see all the various dimensions, all the various sort of, uh, there's on one hand you have this functional art, you have bespoke art, you have kinetic art, and then there are projects. And one thing which I could actually see which sort of binds all these things across in which if I were to say that okay, that is one thing that represents is the junction of art and technology,
Hmm.
that in almost every project, whether it's a kinetic art or a bespoke, maybe bespoke is something that allows you to sort of explore very freely, so without
Yeah.
any functional restriction. But even within where you have the functional restrictions, there is an aspect of this art and technology very much embedded in all the projects, and that was something that was wonderful to see across the board. So, one thing that also I understood is that when we talk about art and technology, you also said in your brief that you are quite fascinated with bringing abstraction to the reality, to the tangible. And in many projects, for example, there are inspirations, starting points are diverse. So there is stingray in nature and the way stingray moves in the water. There
Mhm.
could also be the calligraphy, the Arabic calligraphy that you sort of try to take as a starting point. Or it could also be that installation of Dubai where you actually understand what represents Dubai in, let's say, three words. And then you sort of try to come up with abstract sort of form for that thing. And that essentially to me forms the core of your art department, let's say, if I may put it.
Right.
And then that form is sort of transferred to the technology, and then you find out ways in which that can be realized through various processes, through various model making, etc. So
Right.
one thing that I wanted to ask you is that okay, let's say if I start from the stingray in nature, right, or maybe it could be, let's say, the calligraphy that you take. So what are the steps of design processes through which you arrive at a kind of okay, look, this is the form that I think now it's fit to come into the physical world.
Mm, mm. So it takes a lot of research to actually understand what your inspiration is. So, for example, if it is a stingray, then we really have to understand the stingray works to before even depicting in an abstract form. So, really have to learn about the form, the movement, everything about it. Once you have that core understanding within yourself, then if you make a line, then you can within yourself you can have that conversation. Is it really towards that or not? So that is something that we kind of collect before getting onto the form. Once you collect all this information, understand it well, then you would get some ideas about what kind of form you really want. And for example, in Stingray, it's a simple thing that it's a wave formation.
Yes.
So you have that formation already
Right.
with you.
Right.
But when we decided to elongate that form in terms of because the core value that we see in Stingray is the movement, how that beautiful being travels. And if you just show it as the actual scale, it is just going to go like that.
Right.
Then we said, okay, so your understanding of the stingray, which is more realistic,
Hmm.
versus what kind of experience you want to create. So it has to be fusion of both in that case.
Right.
That's when we expanded that wave, make it longer. And yeah, so that's where we kind of, and also if you already have studied the stingray, so you have a tail, so then everything is going back into the tail. So tail is not separate element as a long thing, but entire thing is a tail probably.
Right.
So all these things goes on, and that's how we arrive into the.
Right. So there is also something that you have observed in the stingray and the kind of experience that you have mind, and then you are sort of trying to exaggerate that experience, that observation,
Yeah,
and trying to achieve. So if there is a movement of the stingray, you sort of try to exaggerate by saying that, okay, let me increase the length of that thing,
yeah.
and then I can really capture the essence of the movement that is there.
Like if I give example of hummingbird, if you see hummingbird, it's beautiful, right? But it the wings flutter so fast. All you see is it's stagnant on one place. But when you actually slow it down, and then you see the actual beauty, how it is
Right.
staying at one place. When you slow it down, only then you realize how beautiful it is.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing. Sometimes you need to make it faster, sometimes you need to slow it down, sometimes you need to compress, sometimes you need to make it. It depends on what you do.
So definitely there is an aspect of theatric, in this, that okay, you are sort of trying to, you have observed something and you are trying to capture that moment. You are trying to
Right,
exaggerate by, and I said, okay, there is a stingray, but what I'm fascinated is the movement of the stingray.
right.
I'm not interested in the finer details, etc., but the way she moves, I think that's what I'm trying to capture. So that's something interesting to know. So there is art part. So you sort of take inspiration from various observations, be it in nature or calligraphy, and then there is the technology department. So
Right.
if I talk about the team at Apical Reform, what kind of a team structure you have? Do you have this kind of art and technology specialties coming together?
So we have a very mixed team because our work is also of that kind.
Hmm.
So we have interior designer, we have architect, we have industrial designer,
Hmm.
we have engineer as a collaborated with. So electronic engineer is there. Then there is a photographer. So there are various kind of people. So there is no dedicated department that this is the technology department. So like if I talk about the electronics and coding part, that person is there. He would head the overall thing and he would work out everything. But as a team, we sit together and decide how we want to go about it. We give ideas. Conceptually, we can think about it, how we want it.
Hmm.
First thing, we have added a function where every 4 hours it would stop by itself.
Hmm.
It is not something like a light. If you're leaving the house, you know it is on.
Hmm.
It's a very silent, smooth going thing. And if you're going out for a month, you don't want to keep it on, right?
Hmm.
So we have added that function. That also came when we were discussing. There's also a function of overheating. So we have put a sensor where if it crosses certain limit of temperature, it will shut down and
Hmm.
it will cool down, and only then it will. So all these ideas we discuss as a team, and then that person would take it in terms of practical way how to deal with it.
Hmm.
Then all these other people, they do assembly, they do design. There's a lot of hands-on work that we do here.
Hmm.
So yeah, we do everything by as a team.
And there's a lot of expertise that you need in terms of engineering. Let's say, for example, coding. Maybe if you talked about. So, do you also often collaborate with mechanical engineers or people who could actually help you sort of fine tune the detailing part of it?
So in overall scenario, we in our team within us we have good understanding of mechanics.
Hmm.
So most of the cases we resolve it.
Hmm.
But recently we have started kind of collaborating with mechanical engineer just to give that portion, that specialization guy can spend a couple of days and give us a couple of options because we may have a lot of things at the same time in our plate.
Hmm.
We have resolve this, we have to do that. So now we are kind of collaborating with the engineers also, but everything would be overseen by us. So we have started doing it. But up till now, and this is a recent development, but up till now, we all have been doing it. So as a sequence, what happens is Amrish and myself, we kind of take the direction that this is what we want to create, and we discuss that in detail. We also discuss within ourselves that how we want to take it as a business venture, how where we are going to sell and market and display all that. And then I take up the design part. I create the thing in very much detail. And then there is another person after me who takes over and he fine tune a lot of things with that in terms of how it is going to be made and everything. But in most cases, if it is going through me, like 90% things are there.
Yeah. So the kind of projects that you do, for example, the bespoke art, or let's say the kinetic art, there are in projects where you have the full freedom to kind of explore. You are perhaps the only designer involved in it.
Yeah.
But in sort of other projects where you are sort of coming in, where you are working for other architects or designers. So what is the kind of role then, the processes that develop from there?
So for such projects, we make sure that it is communicated upfront that we work as an artist.
Hmm.
We will not work under any architect or designer because we have our own say, and we do not want that unhealthy kind of situation where there is an ego thing going on. So we make sure that upfront we tell them that we are not liable to work under anyone. Obviously, we can listen to them, have their suggestions, but to include in our artwork or not, that is our say. So, in most cases, there has not been any such case yet where it's not a very pleasant, unpleasant experience. But we make sure that this is clarified upfront. So, we get enough freedom to kind of do what we want. Obviously, in context with the brief and aims and everything. That's how we work.
Yeah, and the model is design plus build. So whatever you are designing, you execute it yourself and sort of ship it to the other places, right? If I'm not wrong. So then you have for the execution, you said your workshop, which is part of the studio. But other than that, you have any other facilities, or you sort of collaborate with other manufacturers? How do you do
Yeah,
it?
so in-house facility is for us to explore the models and
Hmm.
prototypes. There are vendors who have been working with us since more than 10 years now. So we have carpenter, we have fabricator, we have the glass team. All of these guys, they work with us and they provide us a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really commendable to see the kind of quality that you are able to get in, because quite often the observation has been that you can actually imagine anything with the help of parametric tools, etc. But the real task is in getting that thing done with the kind of a quality, and
Yeah,
that is where actually things fall apart.
yeah. It takes a lot because the computer will allow you to dream whatever you want. But without understanding of technology, material, the details, it will not realize. And in our case, a lot of times we create, and while we are creating, that process starts how we are going to build it.
Hmm.
So that is something. And here, what happens is here in India, the demand of that fine artwork is not there. In terms of not
Yes.
artwork, I would say workmanship.
Yes.
Not there. People they are fine with little notch and scratches here and there, and they do something on as a temporary basis, which is it is a habit of everywhere. People are capable, they are skilled people, they can deliver amazing work, but there is no demand. This is my experience. So to get that out, we really have to work hard with the vendors and tell them this will not work. Small scratch on this is completely will not use it. It's discarded. So yeah, it's hard, but we persist on getting that quality.
True. So, the art, if the art and technology, the art allows you to dream, and you have the parametric tools and you have the softwares to help you sort of capture these things. But then the technology part is where your real expertise of getting things done comes into the picture. So, can you talk about what are the future projections, directions, aspirations for the apical reform? Recently, you've also you have been shortlisted for a prestigious international award.
Yeah, it is the Luxury Innovation Awards. We are the finalist competing against Italian company who makes silver and gold wine bottles. So let's see. It's on 20th. So we'll then. In terms of future plan, we really want to emphasize on our kinetic art work because our studio is one of a kind studio which is dedicated towards making this kind of artwork.
Hmm.
So we really want to take that further and do more larger scale of artwork, involve more technology.
Hmm.
We know how to get a lot of other technical things done, but it also demands investment and that kind of opportunity.
Hmm.
So there are limitations,
Hmm.
but we can achieve the kind of, like for example, if you see the art installation on Changi Airport, there's a kind of thing. So
Hmm.
those kind of projects are also possible, but whenever the demand comes. So we really want to tackle the large scale kinetic projects, interactive projects, and be known as a kinetic art studio.
Wonderful. It will be really nice to see all of that in future, and we will keep catching you for all those wonderful updates and wonderful work that you keep doing at Apical Reform. And it was so nice talking to you, looking at your work. We have been looking at it in bits and parts. Now, this presentation, we got a sneak peek into all the things at one go. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time, Darshan.
Thanks for having me.
So I would like to also thank the people who have joined with us. So this was the third interview in this series. We have still two more interviews left. Next Tuesday, we'll be talking to the Siddhant Borode from Kretkala, from wonderful exploration that person has been doing with concrete as a material and been doing some wonderful indoor outdoor furniture and also wonderful products that he's been coming up with. So I hope to catch up with you all in the next Tuesday also. And thank you so much for joining with us. Thank you.